Taste that? That's perfectly replicated 70s and 80s retro futuristic analog perfection. Okay, perfect. Well, guys, it turns out Alien Earth is pretty good. All right, let's talk about it. So I'm the type that really liked Prometheus. I know that's not everybody, for sure. There's a lot of people that didn't like the aesthetic, and the retrofuturism was gone, and they didn't like the philosophical questions it was asking, and they didn't like that the engineers, created the black goo as a bioweapon, and then David Wynn created the Xenomorphs from that. It was pretty convoluted. All the Alien Covenant stuff, I disown that. But I don't know. I really liked Prometheus. I liked the questions it was asking. That being said, I really like what they're doing here, where they're kind of leaving all that behind. They're kind of telling their own story. I appreciate, too, the showrunner for the show. He had talked about how, he really liked the idea of making the aliens more enigmatic again. We really don't know, where they come from or what they are and all that stuff that got laid down in Prometheus. They are way better as mysterious, ambiguous. The whole, what you can't see is scarier than what you can see. But yeah, man, this show is just dripping with atmosphere. It's tangible. It's like you can taste it in the air while you're watching it. It perfectly mimics the 70s, late 70s, early 80s when those original movies came out. The retro futuristic analog, it's, I guess, technically digital, but it feels very analog. Computers, and I appreciated it when they did it in Alien Romulus, which is a really, really good movie. And I appreciate it here, even more so far. Also, Boy Cavalier's kind of desire to build someone or something that he can have an intellectual conversation with, someone that could challenge him in his intelligence. That being his motivation to create the hybrids is really interesting, especially because he's a trillionaire, and they even kind of make this joke in the show. Trillionaires, they build their fortunes, they build their empires on their ego. It seems like that's the thing that drives all of those people the most. So having him say, oh, no, it's not my ego. I just want to have this, conversation with this perfect, intelligent being. But I think it's his ego. It always is their ego. I really like the idea of these three competing corporations, and I think we've only met two of them so far, but this idea that they're all trying to pursue immortality in their own way. We have the cyborgs, we have I keep wanting to call them replicants, because Timothy Oliphant's character looks exactly like, I can't remember the name of him right now, but that main antagonist replicant in Blade Runner, opposite of Harrison Ford. He has that same hairstyle. I bet you that was on purpose too, because that was also Ridley Scott. But they're all kind of pursuing immortality in these different ways. And there's Prodigy and Weyland-Yutani, which we already knew. And so the cyborgs, the hybrids, and then I guess the third one, instead of replicants, you would just say synthetics. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. I'm really curious to see where that goes. We get all these Peter Pan references and metaphors. It's pretty heavy-handed, to be honest, but it is a really good match for, Boy Cavalier, and you can tell he sees himself as Peter Pan. We have that very heavy-handed, the first girl, the main character, naming her, hybrid body Wendy, and then, they're like the Lost Boys. So yeah, they definitely want you to know it's very similar to Peter Pan. As the show moves along and we get to see more of these, because they're kids, they talk about this in the show, why they gave them adult bodies. If they're not going to grow, you wouldn't want them to be a kid forever. And their mind will still, I assume, mature and evolve as it would normally. But you have these, when they get to the ship and they're discovering all the creatures, and you have all these really funny lines of dialogue that I feel like are perfect for a kid who's in a grown-up body. The actors portraying that kind of character are doing a really good job. They really do feel like kids. So it's kind of weird. Is it just me, or the Xenomorph doesn't have acid saliva? I know that they have 5 different creatures. They've said this, and they showed a few of them at least. They have those tick-like creatures. They have that freak eyeball thing. It's fucking terrifying. They have the Xenomorph, or the facehugger, that turns into a Xenomorph. I think those are the only 3 we've seen so far. But yeah, like, we have these different creatures, and I'm wondering if they're going to combine in some way, or like, this is clearly like kind of its own separate thing here. So if Xenomorph seems like the Xenomorph we know, like from the originals and stuff, and from Romulus, but I don't know, there's someone else might be able to say this in the comments, but it's just not the same Xenomorph. It doesn't seem like it. Like, it doesn't have all the things protruding out of its back, and like the acid saliva, or not acid saliva, is dripped on like a bunch of different characters, and I don't think any of them have been burned. Even the cyborg guy, I wrote it off that time because it's like, oh, well, we know he's a cyborg, maybe he's got special skin or something. It is transparent when he holds it up, but I think it drips on her brother. It's not acid. I feel like it's pretty obvious at this point, so I wonder if that's something that's going to come later. In some way it's obvious, even if just because the things aren't protruding out of its back, and the head seemed a little bit shorter too and stuff like that. I don't think it's the same alien that we've come to know. This seems to be something a little bit different. I don't know if there's a story reason for that, or if they're just, like Holly said, doing their own thing kind of, but I guess we'll have to wait and see next week. That whole dinner party scene was so funny when they're, search and rescue's trying to get him out, and then they're just like dressed up as, I don't know, Victorian era bourgeoisie or whatever. Yeah, I was just cracking up at that part. And he says something like, well, there's a spaceship in the lobby, and he's like, I think the Caspians will understand. And that line was really funny. That got me. It's also interesting too that all of this is happening in, they call it New Siam as the city, which I know Thailand used to be called Siam before like 1941 or something like that. So I guess I find that really interesting, how it's like these futures where it's not just based around the United States. Like, it's more of a, these corporations are all over the world, and it's a bad thing in this world, but it's just interesting to mix up the locations that you're used to seeing in like some futuristic story. It's clearly like an American company, like all the characters are American, but just interesting that they're in these different places. We also get these like long cuts to black between character perspective shifts, and that's really cool because it kind of just gives you time to sit in it and think and let it soak in, whether it leaves off on some sort of edge of your seat cliffhanger, or it just gives you time to think about what just happened. It's just an interesting creative choice, and I really like it. That's all I really have to say about these first couple episodes. The show's really good. Like, I really like it so far. So I'm really curious to see more and see where it all goes. But yeah, we'll keep this one short. And yeah, I've taken a little bit of time off. Haven't really found a show that I wanted to keep covering. Although I just started Foundation, and first season's slow, second season's really good, and the third season that's out right now is so good. So I'll probably, season's about halfway over, I'll probably start covering that too if I can find the time. But yeah, that show's really good too, so keep an eye out for that. But I'll also keep covering this, so if you're interested, keep tuning in. Thank you for your time. I know it's valuable, so I appreciate you showing up, and I will talk to you guys next week. Take it easy.